Great.
When you see the whole world shaking and you feel your heart is breaking, take my hand, no hesitating. Oh, when you're just so tired of trying, all alone you feel like hiding. Together we'll keep fighting. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Can you see the sun is shining like a new hope? Feel it rising, coming over the horizon. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't stop now. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna mountains too high we can climb it. Feel this, we're taking the moment. There's no stopping us. Hold on, we're gonna make it. We're gonna make it. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. Don't you give up, don't you give up on me. Don't you give up, don't you give up now. There's no stopping.
Good evening. I'm just checking the sound everywhere on Facebook and on my blog, and it goes to YouTube and a couple other places, Daily Motion. So I'm out there all over the place. So it's Saturday evening. No, it's interesting. It's 7:00. Just a couple of weeks ago, I will be coming home from the community pool going swimming, and it was still bright sunshine out. You know, in August it gets darker than around 7:30, but now it's like, it's complete night. It's only been a month from Labor Day, and how much the time changes, from daylight to evening time. And then soon when we move the clocks ahead, it's going to get darker even sooner. So that's what's happening right now. It's just a little notice. We have a lot of good things to talk about today. And I'm going to talk about some of the experiences I had this week in showing real estate. And I hope I have some good news for some people. And let's start our show, and we'll start off with our little introduction. Okay, and we're back. Okay, and we're back. So, even what I talk about now about my experience this week, it's all going to gel in about today's topic. It's part on an article on my blog about the October being a good month for buyers. Um, and there are some changes coming about, and but before I go into the deep heart of the matter, um, very interesting observation I made today or experienced today. Um, I had a home inspection from my buyer. Um, we wrote this would have been the third contract, and we got it ratified, and we lost out on two other homes. Sometimes I think it was meant to be. This was like a great home for him, and but that's the type of market. And I mean, he's a fine young man. He's military, has great credit. Has good income coming in, and in today's market, we have to write three offers, and both my other offers were very well appreciated by the listing agent. Maybe that's what they all say. And then our contract was second, or there were two at the top, and my contract or our contract, and from another agent, that too was on the top. And we lost out on them because some bid a little bit higher, and some guaranteed the appraisal. Now, we talked about that last week, guaranteeing the appraisal. And what does that mean? It's a little review. Does anybody out there know what guaranteeing the appraisal is? Do I see anybody's hands? But it would mean that even if the appraisal comes out lower than the contracted price, the buyer will still purchase the house at that contracted price. You see, on the contract, if the appraisal does not come to the contracted price or higher, and that's what you as the buyer would like, because if it comes in higher, then you already have built-in equity when you buy that house, okay? But if it comes down lower, you have the right to renegotiate. You have the right also to continue with the contract and go to closing, but you have the right to renegotiate. And if you can't come to a mutual agreement on the price, you would have the right then, as a buyer, to request to be released from the contract, and you get your earnest money deposit back. Here, a common or the average earnest money deposit is $500, though some are asking for $1,000 now. And as with this situation, the seller asked for a $1,000 earnest money deposit. So, but when you guarantee the appraisal, you're agreeing to, no matter what, I will pay the price that we ratified the contract at. Okay. Now, I had to find out from the loan officer, like, really, what was my buyer's top, because if we bid higher, and let's say the house appraises at that price, can he or she still get the mortgage, right? You might be approved up to $290, but you settled at there was a bidding war, and let's say you went up to $295. Well, sometimes, even if you win that bid, you find out that the loan officer says, I can't do it. And I've seen houses go back on the market because the buyer could not get financing. So most likely what happened is that they bid higher, than they were eligible for. And the bank said, no, we can't do that. And they did not have the money to put down, that difference. So it gets a little more complicated. I mean, there are ways to get around it by putting down more money as your down payment on the house. But if the buyer doesn't have that money, most people right now are paying, the buyers, right, are paying their own closing costs. All right. Prior to this pandemic, many times we could get the seller to pay for it or for a portion of it, but not now, not right now, in most cases. Okay. So the buyer has to make sure, if the appraisal comes out higher, or if they're, I'm sorry, that last part, forget. So if, for instance, if it's a situation where, there's a bidding war, you bid higher, you have to make sure, or your agent should make sure, to get in contact with the loan officer, that you could go up to 295 or 300,000. All right. And if you can't, you got to make up that difference. If you have the cash to make up that difference, then you'll be okay. If you have wealthy relatives and friends who would give you money as a gift, okay, meaning that you do not have to pay them back, and they write out a gift letter. Once they write out that gift letter, they could say, you got to pay me back. He said, but I have proof here. You gave it to me as a gift. I don't have to pay it back. So when someone gives you that money, you might make a little promise under the table, say, I'll pay you back, but legally you don't have to with that gift letter. Okay. So in the situation where you guarantee the appraisal, and let's say the appraisal came out to 285, and you did your escalation clause, or you had a bidding war and you did 295, you got to bring in $10,000 there, because the bank will only lend you the amount of the appraisal. Okay. They're not going to lend you more than that. So that's the situations we're having right now on getting deals done. And once I found out what was the highest my buyer could go to and what his cash position was, the next deal, we tailored it to best protect him. And we did guarantee the appraisal, but if it fell below a certain amount, then we would have the right to renegotiate. Because the house could be on the market for 290, and it appraises, let's say, at 270, just to take the worst case scenario. That's a $20,000 difference. All right. And you may just have enough money for a $10,000 difference. So it gets, it's a crazy market right now. Now, it's getting better, which is going to lead me. Well, one more point. And I need to, I've been very busy today, working, and this is just a flavored club soda, okay? And I was talking to the home inspector, and since many people are doing the home inspection for informational purposes only, and we talked about that last week as well. We had a guest in the audience. I repeated it this morning, that the live stream podcast, and it was a good one. And I might do it was really good. I might just do a little kind of like revamp that and do it again, or what they call repurpose. But anyway, what's happening too, and this is hurting the seller, so the buyer goes in and they do the home inspection, and then they find out, there's a lot of things wrong with it. Not major, not like there's cracks in the foundation, or the HVAC system is on its last legs, but smaller things. And then some buyers are saying, I'm going to walk, they're not going to do anything. I'm not a handyman, and I don't want to hire a handyman to do these little odd jobs. I'm backing out. I just want a house that I want to move in. I turn the key. I might just vacuum the rug or mop the floor, but that's all I want, So what's happening with a lot of these sellers, they back out. Their buyers will back out because it's only for informational purposes. They're not making any repairs. So some buyers are backing out. Now, what still saves the sellers, because in most situations, there are backup offers in the pipeline. But sometimes there aren't any. And now with the seller not making the repairs, his house or her house is staying longer on the market. Okay. So, and again, it's not a major problem because of the amount of offers that are still in the pipeline. When we talk about our next article, you'll see that it's changing a bit. But that's one way. Now, honestly, and I know when I'm talking, there are sellers out there. And with today's inspection we had, I would have liked the seller to make some of the repairs. And when I say repairs, it's not really repairs. It was being, some things were not done properly. Okay. And I would have liked the seller to just go in and doing some caulking here and there, and put in a door silt and do a little painting on the door jamb. Would have liked the seller to have done that, just to, because it was small. You could argue with something big, if the hot water heater is on its last legs, but something like this, a seller should do. So, but that's how it is right now. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not crazy about the market. I mean, if I'm getting a listing this week, and I'm hoping to get some more the following weeks. It's great if you're purely a listing agent and you're banging it out and you're making great money, because there's like very little work that has to be done on the seller side. It's not that much negotiating. It's either the buyer wants it and they could afford it, okay, or they can't. But basically what the listing agent is doing is just going over the contracts at just 405 and see which one's the best one, and saying, we picked this, and everything else it's buyer beware. So the sellers are making good money with very, very little risk, especially when the buyers are guaranteeing the appraisal. So there's really no sweat off their brow. Now, of course, I want your listing, and it's just that market. I know I said a little negative thing here, but, I think sometimes even just out of a basic courtesy, when I give this example with these very minor repairs, that we can't ask the seller to do, because we said it's only for informational purposes anyway, or for the seller to throw in a home warranty. It's just a courtesy, just being, having truly a win-win situation. But anyway, let me get into this, because it's changing. It's getting better for the buyer. And I'm going to bring up I got to do this again. Let's see. We're going to bring this here, do that. And because I did something here. All right, and I go in that little corner. And early October is a sweet spot for buyers. Now, this article that was posted on my blog is bringing in the idea that for some reason, the first week in October, and I think it's Realtor, that that the first week, see down here, nationally, the best time to buy in 2021 is the week of October 3 to 9. This week, historically, has shown the best balance of market conditions that favor buyers. So what does that mean for you? If you're looking to buy a home, there's a golden window of opportunity coming. Here's what you can expect from that week. Now, it's just not just this week of October, but this is what's happening now. This is the good news for buyers, even though it's still a seller's market and it's coming down for extremely high for the sellers, but it's coming more reasonable now. So we have an increased housing supply, and I definitely see that. I'm getting some listings in now. People losing that fear of COVID-19, of people walking through their homes, especially if they're still living there. And if they have children or older people, that fear now is beginning to dissipate. And there are more homes coming on the market. So it says the findings estimate that we see roughly 17.6 more homes available than we saw at the start of the year. Okay, and we'll put that in a nice yellow. And this means you have more options, to choose from, which would be a welcome relief in a market with a tight housing supply. So more options, what that gives you, fewer bidding wars. There are less people who are bidding over one house. This means when you write an offer, you may have less competition and a better chance of being the top bid. Just remember, it's still important to come in with a strong offer. So it doesn't mean to light up on your offer. Don't try to go below, okay? If you don't think the house is really worth the price that they're asking for, then you can put in a low offer, or put an offer for the market price, but don't guarantee the appraisal. And then if the appraisal comes in lower, so you're always protected by the appraisal. You could renegotiate, okay? And then we talk about adjusted home prices. As we move into the end of the year, the findings from Realtor.com note this week may also be one of the peak weeks for price reductions in 2021. Historically, the data shows an average of 7% of the homes have a price reduction that week. And why is that? When housing supply ticks up, sellers need to look for other ways to make their house stand out. This means while home prices are still appreciating overall, let me see if I moved that. Hold on for a second. Okay. Very good. Very good. Because I was actually on the PDF file here. So this means when home prices are still appreciating overall, you may see homes with price adjustments from eager sellers. This process of closing a house takes time. To close before the end of the year, sellers may be more motivated this October. What I'm going to say on that is that, you see, usually after the summer, usually if we get into fall and we're approaching the holidays, the real estate market slows down a bit. I don't think that's going to happen now. I think it's going to be less crazy, as I said before, but I still think there will be many buyers out there. But historically in the past, because from spring to summer, that's the strongest season for real estate, it gets a little quiet in October, November, December. And then January, I've seen like right after holidays, it picks up again, especially, in your warmer states. I don't know if maybe the people who've lived here all their lives may not see Virginia as a warmer state, but I do. I mean, once you get past January or so, temperatures begin to warm up. Now, you might have a horrible March, but you're not going to have the snowstorms that we have up north. Now, the last time we had some snow was about 3 winters ago. And I know that because in 2019, we visited our eldest daughter, who lives in Putnam Valley, New York. And so we went to their local Kmart, and I found these nice snow boots. Then I said, okay, I'm going to wear them when we get snow again. And I think the tags are still on it, and that little elastic string that holds the two shoes together on it. I haven't used them at all. Okay. So sometimes people will wait till it's more favorable to look for homes, unless they really have to move. But I don't see that here. I really don't. And I don't like staying with that adage that things slow down in the holidays. At times, back in Brooklyn, New York, when I was doing mostly rentals, because I was a high school teacher during the day teaching business, I hustled during I remember one time I had a lease signing on New Year's Eve, okay? And I was out there hustling, and I made good money in those holiday months. So it's all up to now this is more for agents, is how much you working your leads and out there marketing and placing ads. It could be busy for you all year round, but that's talking to my fellow realtors. But anyway, so I believe things are getting better for the home buyer. It's still great for the seller. And even as things get better for the home buyers, the sellers are still good because they have their home values have gone up and they're not going back down. So the sellers, no matter, will still be winning. Okay, they might be making more concessions coming up, but they'll still be ahead of the game. I mean, I'm not. They will be doing fine. All right. So let me show a video. I hope I got the video up here that I wanted to. Yes, I do. About how the market is cooling down right now. And let me show that video right now. Okay, let's put it on. Okay. If you follow through all the text in that video, DOM is days on market. So those days are increasing. So that's another signal that the market is cooling down. A lot of, a couple months ago, they were on maybe 4 or 7 days. And I think that the barometer on that, or the demarcation on that, is when the house goes pending. And a few months ago, maybe a little more than a few months ago, people were foregoing the home inspection right off the bat, which is not a good idea. And now we're doing it for informational purposes only. All right, so at least people are finding out that the house is in really bad shape right off the bat, and not just taking the chance that, oh, after it closes, if the heat doesn't work, if I don't have any air conditioning, I'll deal with that later. But now they're finding out up front now. So when you do not have a home inspection contingency, once you have a ratified contract and there's no other contingencies on it, like a home inspection or reading of a condo packet or a homeowner association's packet, then it goes, right to pending. All right. And I think that's the gauge they were using when they say days on market, because people are now taking time to do the home inspection and making a decision whether or not to continue. All right. And that's a good thing for the home buyers, because this way, unless you have loads and loads and loads of money, and if you move in a house and you find out the HVAC system is, it's on this last legs, and now you got a $20,000 expense. If that doesn't bother you, then, you just deal with it. So I wanted to remind you that also that, take advantage of it. It's free. Okay. Everybody likes free. And remember that I have my new fall things to consider when you're buying a home. These are for buyers. That's a guide with plenty of information that makes you aware of what's involved. And then you call me saying, I want to buy a home. Okay. There's no cost to the buyers for using a real estate agent or a realtor, which I am. So we have that. And then we have things to consider when you're selling your house. All right. And a lot of chock full good information on that. And where do I get such wonderful things? Well, you go to my blog, realestateWithMrG.blog, and there's a tab there in the top menu. It says resource materials. You click on that, and it will take you to my guides that you could download. Okay. And that's my little gift to you. Now, with the video I just showed, and I just posted the reference to that video. It was an article on Housing Wire, and it was called "The Red Hot U.S. Housing Market Begins to Cool." Basically, if you go to my blog right now, it's the first article right below my background, and you could read more of it from there. Okay. It was a short article, but basically, between what I showed you today about October and that, it should give you a good idea of today's current buyer's market. All right, and let me put my face back all over here. Let's see, let's hide that. And I think my producer, William Burgess, has contacted me. I think we might have the same celebrity that stopped by the audience last week, because I had a busy week. So we can have a repeat of this, but it's really nice. nice person to have back in the audience.
Great news! We have a celebrity in the audience. He was an American singer, musician, and actor known for his many appearances on Ed Sullivan and his recording of the song I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus. Ladies and gentlemen, little Jimmy Boyd.
All right, I'm glad he stopped by again. Thank you, little Jimmy Boyd, for stopping by and being in our audience. So that's it for this week. Remember, if you are not vaccinated, please get vaccinated. And if you're not at this time, wear a mask. Be kind to each other. All right. And remember, the greatest power we have is to love. And the greatest gift is each other. And I'll see you next week.